Well, let's go ahead and get started so we can try and get through this meeting. Hopefully it won't last too long. It certainly shouldn't last the full hour, but welcome all of you. We're so excited to have you all here as our 2024 class of Beyond the Archives grantees. Congratulations. Cycle 1 was an extremely competitive grant cycle, and the reviewers had tough choices to make, and we're excited that you all were chosen. So thank you for your fantastic applications and your projects. Today, we're going to introduce ourselves. Some of you may know us, some of you may not. So we'll introduce ourselves briefly, and then we'll ask you all to introduce yourselves, to talk just very briefly about your projects. And then we're going to go into just some of the requirements and administrative issues to consider with this grant program and answer any questions. So that should be today's agenda. So my name is Leah Gage, and I am one of the community grants managers here at HumanitiesDC. I have been here for about 10 months, and I am the main point of contact for the Beyond the Archives grant program. So my contact information is here, my email and my phone number. If you have specific questions about grant requirements or anything, you can reach out to me. However, my colleagues are also here to support as well. So Hillary, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Hillary Steen, and I'm the other community grants manager at HumanitiesDC. Also happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you all for being here. And again, congratulations on being a 2024 grantee with us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Loy Namard, Director of Grant Making and Programs, and I echo everyone's welcome. I'm really looking forward to you being part of this year's cohort of Beyond the Archives grantees. You help us to extend and enhance oral history programming that we do, so we really appreciate that. You have your direct points of contact. I'm always available if you want to talk about our grants and programs in general, or if you have thoughts and feedback about how we engage with and best support the humanities community in DC. Our goal is to really ensure that we're touching all wards, all neighborhoods, different cultures and people and demographics that all make up what it is to be DC. And so we appreciate feedback about how we're doing with that and how we can do that better. And lastly, please let us know. I'm always interested in attending events. So when you are having the public aspect of your program, would love to get invitations so we can try to be there. Great to see everyone.
Great. Thanks, Loy. So now is an opportunity for you all to introduce yourselves to one another and to us. And so please just give us your name, your organization, if applicable, and a brief description of your project. And feel free to just call out, or I'm happy to call on people.
Good morning. I'm Marvin Tupper Jones of the Alliance to Preserve Civil War Defenses of Washington. And our project, which we execute every year, is the annual Fort Stevens Day commemoration at Fort Stevens in Northwest. It was the only fort that saw battle that was under attack during the American Civil War. And we have about 75 volunteers that day. It will be on July 13th from 10 o'clock to 3. And we'd like for you to come out. We have a lot of speakers and reenactors, a lot of education and entertainment and children activities.
Thanks, Marvin.
Hi, I'm Sarah Schoenfeld. I have a grant to produce a 20 to 30-minute video based on a series of oral histories conducted with people who lived at the Berry Farm Public Housing Complex when it was brand new in the 1940s and 50s. All of these people, we conducted 8 interviews with an oral history grant with members of Campbell AME Church, which is a church that long served that and still does serve that community, and where many people that live there and grew up there as children are still members and still in community with one another. Yeah, really excited to be able to to produce like a compilation of those videos and combine with some contextual historic photographs and and other information to make it a sort of a more engaging project for the larger public.
Thanks, Sarah.
So I'm Frank Finnemore. I'm the executive director at the Cleveland and Woodley Park Village. And we help older adults stay living in our community by providing volunteer support to them to do such things as grocery shopping, rides, other essentials so that they can stay in their home or at least in our community in an apartment if they move from their house. And our project is really fighting ageism by having these big banners created, which will tell the story of many of our members' lives with interesting, pictures from before and then currently, so people understand who their older adults neighbors are, and then there'll be a QR code to take them to the oral history itself. And our idea is that we will have these in places that people just stumble upon, so they're not going to look for an exhibit. Rather, they'll discover their neighbors as they walk around doing their everyday shopping and things in the community. We will eventually, in May of next year, have a full exhibit, not funded as part of this, but we will do it as part of Older Americans Month.
Thanks, Frank.
I'll hop in. My name is Hannah Uri. I'm from President Lincoln's Cottage. I also have my colleague Emma here with us as well. Our project is a cultural assets mapping project. We're located in the Petworth neighborhood. And phase one of our project, which we've already completed, was we did, I think it was 123 interviews with people who live in Petworth, work in Petworth, who are there in the neighborhood. One, to understand what cultural assets are there, and two, to understand community needs and wants more so that we can kind of better incorporate that and meet community needs in our programming. And so for the second phase of our project, which this grant is helping us complete, is the full analysis of all of those interviews, which range from like 5 minutes long to an hour plus long. So that full analysis, and then being able to share out the reflections and learnings from that with the community a little bit better. I also know some elder residents in the Cleveland Park area. So I wonder if you're looking to connect with more folks. They have had very long and interesting lives in Washington. So I'll send them your way, Frank, if you're in the market. But we're very happy to be a part of this cohort.
Fantastic.
Great. Thanks, Anna. And then we have Melita or Amy. You two are the last grantees.
Sure, I can jump in. So we presented this proposal to go into the archives of a documentary that we shot in and around DC between 2014 and 2019. So it was a long-term project. And that was also a HumanitiesDC project. But while we shot this documentary, we met a lot of really interesting people with fascinating stories, and we wanted to do something with that and make their voices heard. The project is called Homelessly in Love, and it's you go talking about the sentimental lives, the love stories, basically, of people who have experienced or who are experienced housing instability in all of its forms. And so when we first started out, we interviewed a lot of folks in the homeless DC community. They shared their, personal stories to us. And so even though we didn't use everything in the ultimate documentary we made, we really wanted to honor that in some way. And so it was really great that you guys are helping us make this a reality. So.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Trang. I'm with the 1882 Foundation. Also with me is my colleague Ting Yi Oi. He's going to be predominantly working on creating curriculum lesson plans around documentaries that we've already produced through a previous Humanities DC grant. I think it was like 2 years ago. And our goal here is to really highlight those videos and to demonstrate that Chinese Americans are a part of DC history, and also talk about you know, the relation where diversity is more beyond the black and white scene of things. There's a lot to talk about in terms of making connections and then understanding how there is a discussion for interracial marriage and interethnic, you know, cultures. So there's a lot going on with what it is that we plan to do. We're really excited. So thanks for the opportunity.
Cool. Thank you all so much. This is such an exciting and wide-ranging group, and we're hitting lots of different points in the city, and I think this is so exciting. So thanks all for being here. So yeah, please. So one of the things that we'll mention is that we will be sharing out contact information for you all among all of our grantees, not just Beyond the Archives. If you don't wish to have your contact information shared, that's totally fine. You can let us know. But we'd love to see more connections made if you do wish to reach out to each other, you know, as the grant program continues as well as beyond. So this grant period, as you all probably know, is a year long. It began May 1st and ends April 30th, 2025. So all funds that you have received must be spent during this time period. So many of you received the funds maybe just a week or two before the grant period began, but grant expenses should start May 1st and can be spent up to April 30th. There are 2 reports that are due as part of this grant program. You have an interim report that will be due October 15th. This is a relatively simple report. We ask you about your progress to date, what you all have achieved as of the report date. And then we ask you to provide a budget to actuals table that shows how much you've spent to date. So you would be copying your budget from the actual application, and then showing us how much you've spent. And all of that will go in the grant portal, which is called Foundant, which you all use to apply. Those reports are not available yet, but as soon as they become available, you'll be able to see those. Final reports will be due May 30th. So that's 1 month after the grant period is complete. And the final report is more extensive. For those of you who've not yet worked with us before, we'll explain what the final report entails. For those of you who have, it will be relatively similar to final reports that you've submitted with us before. So as we said, submitted through the grants portal. We will ask you to provide an explanation of funds spent. So that will include a budget to actuals table that you will actually take from your interim report. So there will be a column from your interim report that shows how much you spent up to that point, and then you'll enter the remaining amounts that you've spent on each line item. We also request all documentation of expenditures. So that's all your paid receipts, all invoices, canceled checks, credit card statements, bank statements, work. If it's an invoice, it needs to show that the invoice has been paid. And then if you are paying yourself or anybody on your team for the time that you will be putting into this project, we also include timesheets where you can enter the hours that you've spent on certain things, your hourly rate, and how much you've allocated. And then we're going to ask you to answer some kind of narrative questions about the project itself. So describing the successes and challenges that you experience, what you feel the impact is. We're requesting some specific data, such as the wards and neighborhoods where project activities took place, how many DC individuals benefited from or participated, how many DC artists specifically benefited or participated, how many DC youth, that's under age 18, benefited or participated in this project. schools that benefited from or participated, and scholars or humanities experts. And those are all things that we request as part of our own reporting requirements to the Commission on the Arts and Humanities. So we're telling you those now so that you're able to keep track as your projects are now currently underway, thinking through how you're going to track these data points so that you're ready to report on them come May 2025. Then there's also opportunity to include photos, to include videos, any of the outputs from your project itself, documentary trailers, the other photos from exhibits, exhibit pieces, whatever that you have. We love to see those as well. That's not a required upload for this report, but we love to see those things. And then we also ask for, if you do include photos, we ask for photo release forms, which we have a template that you can use. So key resources that you will need to keep in mind: the grant conditions and addendum. You all signed your award acceptance forms, and the grant conditions are linked therein. The RFP also gives all of this information for the most part, and that is linked on our website. If you go to HumanitiesDC and you go to the grant opportunities page and find the Beyond the Archives grant program, you'll see that RFP and all of those requirements. If you have certain changes to your project, that's totally fine. We know that that often happens, but there are some things that we do require pre-approval. So if there are major changes to your budget, we know that budgets change. Budgets are a plan, and we all do our best to stay on budget. But if you have to change things up, that's okay. Just give us a heads up. So if a particular category is going to change more than 25% of the original amount that you had applied for, please send us a request via email. We need that in writing, and just let us know how much you want to change it and why. There are very, very few instances that we would not approve such a budget change. As we said, we know that budgets do change, but we do need, for our own due diligence purposes, we need that request in writing. If the project scope changes significantly, if it kind of doesn't look and feel like what you applied for initially, we definitely need to approve any of those kinds of major changes. And then changes to the duration of the grant period, which really means like if you need an extension, this year we've given a year-long grant award or grant period. This is one of the first times that we've extended to a full year, so we really hope that that's a sufficient amount of time to get all of the things complete. But we will, in some cases, grant very short extensions on your grant period. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Other changes that may occur. Changes to your nonprofit status. If you're applying as a nonprofit, then we definitely need to know right away. And then any changes to key members of the project team, project director, we need to know that right away. We also know that that happens, but those are things that as they happen, we ask that you let us know as soon as they do. And then a quick rundown of allowable and unallowable costs. You all have seen this. This matches exactly what is in the RFP and what was approved in your budgets. But just as a reminder, you may spend funds on wages, stipends, and honoraria. We strongly encourage that you pay people for their time. And if you have panelists or people who are participating, paying them honoraria is strongly encouraged. Supplies and equipment that are related to the project, presenting platforms or virtually or in-person space, transportation, publicity. I don't think anybody here is working with a fiscal sponsor, but if you do end up working with a fiscal sponsor, then 10% of the award, no more than that, may go toward that. And then what we can't fund, non-program related costs, general operating costs for the organization, such as rent or overhead. We can't fund food and beverages. So if you're doing an event or something like that, grant funds may not be used for those expenses. Tuition and scholarships, debt reduction, any kind of re-granting, or funds for government agencies or foreign agencies as well. In the event that you are doing something public with these funds, many of you are. So for example, producing films, producing exhibits or events, we require that there be some kind of acknowledgement of Humanities DC, and we provide this language. So this project was funded by, or in part by, Humanities DC with the Humanities DC logo. And I'm going to show you right now where you can find that information. So we have sent it out, but should have this up. So if you go to humanitiesdc.org, just going to go right from the beginning, go to community grants and then for grantees. Here you'll find all the logos for grantee use. So we prefer that you use the full color logo, but if it's something that you're not doing in full color, there are these secondary logos as well. And then we ask, we include this acknowledgement information here as well. So yeah, that's all on our website. You can access that at any time.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Didn't it used to say also something about the National or the DC Commission for the Arts and Humanities? Do they no longer need to be cited, or is that just because of this specific grant is not related to their funding or something?
It is actually related to their funding. We
Okay.
all of our grants are funded by them, but
Yeah.
that's not required
Okay.
for you. So sorry, this had gone back. So yeah, so that's that language and the logos. If you're posting things on social media, our communications team is really on it with social media right now, and we're really trying to boost our own social media. So please tag us at HumanitiesDC, and then we'll try to share out your stuff as well. And then we have our events page. Many of you may have seen this events page. So we have a form where you can submit. It's kind of hidden here on the events calendar, but it's also, I think we're going to link to it on the For Grantees page, but this form here allows you to enter information about an event that you have coming up, and then we'll post it to our own calendar. So we definitely encourage you to do that and to give us at least a few weeks heads up or when you do that before your event, so that we can publish it on our website. Again, there we go. So in your acceptance letter, there were, I think attached, we had communications guidelines that our communications director helped put together. So there's a lot more information there. But these are kind of the key things. If you have events, please put them in their events page form and tag us on social media and include that language about Humanities DC. If you have any questions as you go along, you're not sure how to acknowledge us, you forget where the logos are, anything like that, no problem at all. Just reach out to me directly. If you do have our communications team's emails or anything like that, we prefer actually that you reach out to us on grants team, because we'll make sure that it goes to the right place. So just you can email me directly. So as I said at the outset, we have currently now 52 grantees. Cycle 2 just closed, and we plan to award 11 more grants. So we'll have somewhere between 60 and 65 grantees total this year. And we definitely want to create opportunities for you all to network, to meet with one another. And so we do expect to send out contact information, as I said, for all of you, and to share that amongst one another. As we said, that is completely optional. And so just let me know in the next couple of weeks if you don't wish to have your contact information shared. And then the other thing I'm going to do is send out some kind of a poll or something. I didn't get it together for today. But we're thinking about other opportunities for grantees to connect with one another that would be optional. We know we give you a lot to do as it is. You have your reports to complete. You have all of these things to remember with acknowledging us. But we know that some grantees want even more opportunities to connect with one another, whether virtually or in person. So we'll be sending out some thoughts on whether or not there are opportunities for that. But if you have ideas, or if you'd like to find other ways to connect that are kind of hosted by Humanities DC, please just reach out to me directly with your ideas. We'd love to kind of think more about how we can provide that support and opportunity more this year. Any questions?
Is there a list like that's fairly straightforward to find of like all the grantees and their projects, and like maybe brief descriptions of their projects?
Yes. Let me see here. Let me show you where to find that. So it hasn't been updated. So it's been updated currently for cycle 1. So again, if we go back to our website and go to grant opportunities, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can see who we are currently funding. And we have all of our 2024 grantees and a brief description of the project. And that is actually taken from the application that you submitted. We may have edited it down slightly. But if you see something that you want to have changed, we're going to be making some edits. So just let us know and we can make those updates. But yes, so this should be all of the grantees.
Great.
Yeah.
I have a question about honoraria. I was wondering how that typically is, how those can be typically paid out. And the reason I'm asking is that one of our scholars that we'd like to, use honoraria to for her time contribution on the project, but we'd like to know. So we were worried that it would have an impact on some of the aids that she receives, which is a more stable source of funding than, doing the work on this. And so we wouldn't want to put that in jeopardy. So yeah, do you know how that's usually structured?
That's a good point. It's a good question. I think that would be something you would want to kind of work out directly with that scholar. It could be, as long as it was within our funding guidelines, it could be that you provided some kind of in-kind support. But I'd be happy to talk to you offline on other thoughts. I mean, basically, right, if it's income that they receive in some form, then they likely have to report it. And you would need to report it, and have some kind of documentation of it. So we'd need to think about how you would want to do that. But I would, if
of course.
check with them first, talk to your scholar first about what their thoughts are, how much kind of their threshold is. And then if you have questions for us on how to document that, let me know.
Okay, definitely. Thank you so much. I'll maybe email you separately. Thanks.
Sure, no problem. Any other thoughts or questions?
Yes, again, what page has the list of grantees?
It's the grant opportunities page. So if you go to Humanities DC and then grants or community grants and then grant opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you, Leah.
No problem.
Yeah, I just have a similar like concern about paying out like there'll be for tax purposes, like there'll be a documentation that Humanities DC paid me this money, and then I will have my own like documentation of what I paid out, but do I need to send people like 1099s or something like that? Like
No,
Okay.
no, you shouldn't. Yeah.
okay.
Because, Sarah, you received the grant as an individual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, you would need to send out 1099s.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if you do have other questions or things that come up, here is our contact information. grants@humanitiesdc.org comes to both me and Hillary. And so if I'm not, online or something, we can both respond to that email, but here's my personal email and phone number. And we just look forward to continuing to work together. And we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Great,
much.
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all. And thanks for joining this call today. And yeah, looks like we're about done. So
Okay, thank you.
wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You too. Nice to meet you all. Bye-bye.